get some information what we're going to talk about with this horse today. I believe on the paper that she wrote it was rescue, fearful, and abused. Oh my, and it pooped in the pen too. That's okay, I'm the poop cleaner. Give us your name, your horse's name, and tell us something about him.
I'm Kristen. This is Jasper. He's around 7 years old, an appendix quarter horse. I don't know a lot about before he came to me. I was told he was seized with a group of horses by the sheriff's department for abuse and neglect. He looked pretty rough. They said they thought he was around a couple years old, but the vet said he was closer to 3 or 4. He just looked that young because he was neglected. He wasn't taken care of. So far, we've done a lot of work with him. Just nobody can ride him yet. He has little panic attacks when you try to ride him. So we're hoping we can work on that.
Explain a panic attack when you try to ride him.
When the few times someone has actually gotten on him, he's just really edgy. He shakes. And you can just tell he's just about to bolt. And then something will happen. Like my friend was riding him bareback and he was doing great. And then her foot hit the side of the round pin. And he went ballistic. Okay. He just kind of lost it.
Now, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is so many times we get the cart before the horse. And we do that in religion. We do it with our animals. And, you know, when we describe a horse as fearful, I don't want to get on a fearful horse. So we're going to work with being fearful. You said he doesn't tie well. And I made the comment when she was telling me about that. Basically, years ago, I quit teaching horses to tie. Don't you love me? And I quit teaching them to tie, and I quit teaching them to lead. Because if you teach them to give to pressure, those things just automatically happen. So a horse that doesn't tie has got some fear issues, and he's got some issues about giving to pressure. So I told her I didn't know what I was going to do. We're just going to kind of see how excited he gets and see what we can do to bring him down. Let me step around here behind you. I'll explain to you why I'm changing halters as soon as we get this off. If you'll take that one. Okay, this halter would represent sitting on the bleachers. See, big, flat. This halter is small and round and has some knots on it. That would represent sitting on the corners of one of those panels. It's uncomfortable. If you push on this, it's uncomfortable. If they push on this, they just keep pushing. So if he wants to run away or something, I can bring him back. If he gets scared, it'll give me a little bit more control of him. So, you know, I'm just testing him. You know, he thought he wanted to shy from that, so that's pretty good. Okay, thank you very much. I'll take the microphone, and if Mr. Hurley will let you out. And come on here with me, Jasper. Jasper. One of the biggest mistakes I made in horse training was I went to a Chris Cox clinic down in Brighton, Indian Reservation. And I watched him do something, and I said, the next horse I work, that's what I'm going to do. I had in my mind right then what I was going to do before I ever evaluated the horse. Didn't work good. Didn't work good at all. In fact, I had to change because that method did not work for that horse. And you've heard me say many times that I evaluate my methods. I'm a pretty simple guy. You know, they're either hyper or lazy, and that teaches me a lot about how I'm going to adjust them. And I don't mean adjust as in a chiropractor. You know, I just want to feel, you know, what this horse is going to do. You know, he tells me he's stiff as a board. Now, I don't know if he's stiff because he's never been taught, or he's stiff because he's out of whack somewhere. There's so many times, we've just had a few weeks ago, Julie Westcott, the horse chiropractor, They're stiff because they're out of adjustment. But so many times our horses are stiff because they've never been asked to do this. It does not matter how stiff they are. They can give you something. Now see this? Oh, dang, what happened? I didn't do that. When we're looking for God's will for our life, and we're going to explain that a little bit later, but I want to get more back into God's purpose for our life. You see, so many times we try to do something for God, don't we? What can I do for God? When what God wanted was our attention. You see, his horse lost his attention. He lost his focus. So many times in training, we get into this process of, boy, my horse is a slow learner, where we're doing stuff in a repetitive way, but we don't have their focus while we're doing it. It would be the same thing as going to school like I did, and teacher's teaching, and I'm looking out the window. You know, I'm fishing or hunting or doing something else. I have no idea what's going on in school. And a lot of these horses are the same way, because we have a halter on them, a bridle on them, because we're riding them. They're somewhat going along with us, but they're not retaining the training because they're not focused on us. Yeah, I figured that. So, you know, I want to just play a little bit, because I know whenever we start riding, we want to be able to turn their head. You know, in fact, it's not everybody's method, but it is mine. I like to keep them standing still. I want to just see how long it'll take before it argues with me. I'm just testing it. You know, okay, you gave me your head, but then how long are you going to give it to me before you argue? No argument, so I'll turn it loose. So many times, we only hear part of the training, or we only read part of the Bible. So many times we watch TV and they're training a brand new horse to do something, and when they flex, as soon as you actually teach them the trick. If you touch my foot, touch the stirrup, touch your side, I'll release you. But then if you want to hold longer than that, they argue with you. Because you see, in life, we're going to ask these horses to mature, to get better than they were. Because when we start bridling them up, we may want them to go collected for several minutes, rather than as soon as you give me your nose, I release you for the rest of their life. Same way in Christianity. God wants us to mature. But that doesn't necessarily mean working for God, your purpose of doing things for God. Now, I just kind of hold on to their withers or something and walk with them till they stop, release them. One of the biggest mistakes we make in horse training is releasing the pressure at the wrong time. If they're walking and we release it, or if they're throwing their head and we release it, we're teaching them to walk or throw their head, because they learn from the release of the pressure. Now, once again, I just start off with all horses doing it with my hand. I'm not going to pull on that halter, because they've had a halter pulled on probably for 6 or 7 years, and it's got them to where they're at. This is a different feeling with my hand. I can feel them better, and they can feel me. I'm actually putting pressure with my fingers right there and bring their head around. They can understand that better than they can this in the beginning. I have better feel with my fingers than I do through this lead rope and halter about how much pressure they're putting on me. Like right now, his head is bent, but there's about 15 pounds of pressure on this lead rope. So, okay, we're going to start moving a little bit, see how excited Now, I'm going to just guess from the way she talked a little bit about his fearfulness and everything, he's the type that once he goes, he wants to go. What I'm looking for him is to go and be easy about it. So what I'm looking for is for him to just move out and bend a little bit and come back. See, he don't want to do this bend. He just wants to pew. That's the way a lot of us are with God. We're either pew away from God or, oh, God wants me to do this. And we take off without God to go do it. You know, I want this horse to leave, but I don't want him to lose his connection to me. You noticed how much higher his head got? He said, what's happening here? One of the things in the Bible that you were going to have to learn, just stay back out there, that you're going to have to learn if you ever succeed in your godly purpose, is be still and wait on the Lord. Because I actually did a sermon, a little mini sermon one time for the Ministerial Association in Hardy County. Now you got to understand, I never went to school to be a preacher. Randy Johnson talked me into going to this Ministerial Association. About a year later, I'm doing the devotions. I felt very insignificant because I didn't go to school to be a preacher. These people have got letters by their name. I don't know what they stood for besides BS, but anyhow, that's where most of them was at.
Okay, maybe we need to do the disclaimer. Sure. Okay. What you hear here stays here. Okay.
Nah, you can take it anywhere.
Oh, okay.
My life is public. My name's Skipper, and this is who I am. But I took a piece of hardstock paper, and on the computer, I made the biggest 4 that I could make. And on the back side, I made the biggest 2 I could make. And I believe that every one of us, and really a lot of preachers, get so busy doing for God that they forget to give to God. Now that's part of you learning your godly purpose in life. Is don't get caught up doing for God. You know, this horse could be running circles around me right now because he thinks that's what I want him to do. You know, I love it whenever you get a barrel racing horse that don't want to stand still to get on. They think they're just supposed to run little circles around you. That's what they've been trained to do. They think they're doing it right. And so many times we are working in that process of doing for God, when what we want is to just be still until we ask you to move. One of the things I want to share with you right there is if you're trying to teach a horse to lunge, it's critical where you're standing and where you're looking. I mean, that much can make a world of difference of where you're standing, whether you're making a move away from you or around you, what you're doing with your hands. I actually posted a little cartoon on Facebook that a person had the buggy whip, and they're trying to teach this horse to lunge, and they're out here, and the horse is in the middle, and the person's doing all the lunging. Have you ever been there?
Smart horse.
You know, but with the technique I want to use, I like for them to be facing me. I'm going to point that way. That's asking them to go. I'm going to cluck. That's asking them with a little more force. And then I'm going to apply pressure with a lead rope. If you got a stick, you got a flag, use whatever you got. Now, I've already kind of set him up because I was off at the side earlier. Ask, tell, command. And I want that shoulder to move. Everybody wants their butt to move. You know what I found out? If the shoulder moves, the butt will follow. Every time I turn this horse back to me, I'm going to help him when he start riding him. Give the pressure. Give the pressure. That's what we're working on. You know, actually, when a horse is looking at me, back up just a step. When I point, that's the first thing I want to move is his head and his neck, to go that way. I don't want him to come forward and start lunging. Especially horses, you know, got different type of horses. She said this horse was scared. He's not scared of people. Tell you that right now. If he's scared of people, he'd stay away from you. Scared of other things, maybe. But if they're not have a healthy fear of people, when something scares them, they're going to run over you to get away from it. So, ask, tell, demand. And when they do, pressure goes away. See how it wants to pull its head away? It's just common. It's just natural. There's several ways you can keep bumping it. You know, that's kind of what I wanted to do a while ago by moving it sideways a little bit. I want this nose to kind of think about where I'm at.
And one thing, Skipper, that we've all watched you do this for a long time, the turning of the hip away from you, or turning the hip so the horse faces you when you want him to face up. He's more at an angle than a lot of the horses you've done. Is there a reason for that?
He don't know any better, and I'm just letting him get away with it right now. We've started a new direction, so we got a new mind. Because they see out of each eye separately. What she's talking about is he's got an angle right there. Well, when he gets an idea, then I'll start moving. Oops, wrong way, wrong way. And because I know the next step I'm going to take is going to address that quite a bit. If you've got problems loading your horse, this is just a great exercise. I do it on every one of them that I'm going to load. It's going to help him because it's going to give me more control of his hips. And it's going to get him lighter on the halter because I'm going to do a lot of turning. And basically all we do is we ask him to go between us and the fence. And then we just, no, I didn't really want you to go that way. I want you to go this way. Now see, he's not quite there yet. I'm just going to apply pressure until he decides to go around me. I don't care. I don't have to get mad. He's saying, what do you want? He says, I don't work out of this eye. Da, 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 da. I'm going to break that up a little bit and say, hey, no. See, he don't want to go past me with that right eye. He has an issue with that eye. So I'm going to let him think about that because he did go past me. So I'm going to let him think just a second. Okay, what did I have to do to get this guy to stop? If you find out he really has a problem with that eye, I've only done this one time, but I'm telling you, it worked magic. I had a horse years ago that he was the worst I'd ever seen. You didn't get on that right side. No. So I took a fly mask. Most of you have seen them, the big fly mask you put over their head, and you take, okay, he does not want to look or come past me on his right side, so I'm intentionally staying over here more. It's natural for horses because we do everything from the other side. So the other side has a lot more training than this side. You know, that's kind of like we have a lot more training, or at least desire, to do for God rather than serve to God. And we're going to get into that for a minute. But I took this fly mask and I put duct tape on the inside of his good eye. The eye he wanted to look at. You know, here's a good illustration of that. I know that I'm fixing to have shoulder surgery, so I'm learning to do things left-handed. The same thing. If he doesn't want to look out of his right eye, we're going to blind his left eye, so he has to look at it. He has to start using it. And it just builds their confidence because just like you've seen some people that are they can't do anything left-handed. Well, some horses can't do anything out of their right eye. And if if they can't do anything left-handed, you just put their right hand in a cast and they learn. It's the same principle. So he's got some issues with not listening as good on this side. So we're going to go back and do more of that driving away that we started out. Say, okay, maybe this guy means what he's saying. Because what happens in almost every circumstance of Christianity, in every circumstance of, careful how I say this, disobedient horses in some way, is they lose the trainer as being the leader. They want to be the leader themselves. You see, when we don't wait on God, we're telling God, that's okay, God, I'll take care of this. I'll be God today.